It's beautiful how the Quran say the man he can beat his wife.
You have to look at the whole verse, not just
Look
one
at the whole verse,
specific
no
verse
problem. Go ahead.
and
Go
focus
ahead.
on it. Because in the Bible, Jesus also says that for every time that your eye sees sin, pluck it out. But does he mean that literally?
Yes,
If he meant that literally,
yes,
all the
no,
Christians in
no,
the U.S.
no, he's
and around the
saying-
world wouldn't
Yeah.
have eyes right now.
No, lady, no,
So
lady,
you
lady,
have to
lady,
look
no,
at
no,
the bigger
no,
picture.
he mean
Many
it-
Muslims that
Yeah.
I know do
Yeah.
not even touch their wives that way, just out of respect.
No.
And although it is allowable in our religion
Yeah.
for a man to, touch his wife in that way, although it's allowable, it's not always right because they can be out of control. And there's specific rules to that also. It's moderation. There has to be a reason. It
Like
can't
what?
just be out of
Like
no
what?
reason just because he wants to strike at her.
Like what?
And
What
many
is the
Muslim
What?
families that I know don't even. It's best to avoid it. It's best to not do it
No.
than
lady.
to.
If it's in the Quran, it means it's allowed, and we agree about that, correct? It's allowed.
I'm sorry.
It's allowed
In the
Quran
yes,
to
it
beat
is
your-
allowed.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
it is allowed.
Now, what is the reason for a husband to beat his wife?
The reasons for it is to begin with, before even thinking about hitting, one's wife, you're supposed to communicate with her, talk to her about it. If let's say there's a problem, or if she's not willing to negotiate on something, or if he tells her to do something and she's not willing to do it, they should first talk it out and communicate. However, if she's still not listening and if she refuses to obey him, he can then, get to that step. Unfortunately, people can get out of control, and it should only be a light tap. It should not harm her in a way where she is severely hurt or severely bruised
Where in the Quran it
or
says
anything like that. It should not leave a mark.
Does it say there
It
in the
shouldn't leave a
Quran?
mark.
Does it say, it doesn't leave a mark, which means this is harm. I can beat the hell of you and it still don't leave a mark.
But here's the thing. If you interpret it that way, if everybody says that, okay, well, let me do it this way, as long as it doesn't leave a mark, that's just, it's just the person that's creating that rule. If in the Quran it says you're not supposed to leave a mark, then you can't just go around it
Where in the
just
Quran
to have
says,
your way with your wife.
Sorry,
you know the
Gina.
rules, and if you respect and love her, you would not try and harm her.
Where in the Quran it says
And
don't
if
leave a
you,
mark?
I'm sorry?
Where in the Quran it says don't leave a mark?
I can get you a verse if you
Show
want.
me. Great. I would be happy to see it. Where?
Sure.
It doesn't say that.
I would be
The
happy
Quran,
to show you.
Quran chapter
Sure.
4 verse number 34 say clearly just beat them. There's no light beating. There's nothing about don't leave marks. This is not
Okay,
true.
I will show you.
Okay, great. I wanna see that verse. And remember, we are talking about chapter 4 verse number 34.
Mhm.
And take your time and look for the verse, no problem. I'm talking to people who are listening to us. First of all, regardless of how light the beating is an insult. If somebody spit at somebody in America, you take him to court because a spit is an insult. You don't spit at people. You see how light spitting is? Very light. Have you ever heard of somebody being killed because somebody spit at him? But this is a very bad insult. So it's very clear, number one, that Islam teach not to respect women, teach that women, they are nothing, and as you said, if you negotiate with her and she refuses to obey you, we beat her, which means I am allowed in Islam to force my ideas in other human being just because she is a female. If she doesn't agree, here we go, we got a solution, I will beat you.
Can I comment? It's not just because she's female. He doesn't have a right to hit her just because she's female. That has nothing to do with the fact that she's female. In Islam, men and women are equal but different, and they each have different duties, but they are both equal, and they each should be respected. And if a man truly loves his wife, he would never lay a hand on her. But it is allowed in Islam as a way to control and allow communication and try and fix the problem.
Is
So
that
it
how you
wouldn't
fix the
lead
problem?
to
So you are saying
more
to
problems
me,
in the future.
so you are saying
But
to me,
the first
Allah,
step that is really important is communication before anything. They have to talk it out.
Communication. You say to her,
That's
don't do
the
that,
first
correct?
step.
You say to her, don't do that. Then she do it, you beat her. Is that communication? Is that how communication is? And you are saying to me, will correct the problem by beating her. What kind of correction is correction is?
No, I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth,
You
sir.
said
I
that.
didn't say to solve a problem he has to beat her. And I told you that it's
Okay.
not beating.
It
It's
is what?
a tap that is not going to leave a mark.
Lady,
I
show me
told
the
you
proof.
that.
Show me the proof. I have in front of me
Please,
hadith of Sahih
I
al-Bukhari.
ask you really, calmly and politely do not put words in my mouth, because I know that I know how this verse can be taken in many different ways.
No problem.
Just as
Listen.
just as the verses about jihad can be taken in a lot of ways, and the verse about the 72 virgins can be taken a lot of different ways. So I ask that you do not put words in my mouth as I try to explain this, because it is a complex subject. Go on.
No problem. First, you are the one who said, when I said to you, this is the problem is going to be solved, you said no. And by the way, this show is recorded. We can play it later. And you will see, yourself, you said, to correct the problem. Now, I said to you, is that how you correct the problem? You said, don't put word in my mouth. I did not say correct. So he is beating her for what? If he is not going to correct the problem,
it's not the only way to resolve a problem.
Please,
it's not the only way.
Please let me finish.
The best way to resolve any problem is communication.
Okay.
That's the best way.
Communication did not work. You beat her, correct?
Talking. That's what I mean. To talk it out. To try and talk it out and see what each person thinks is the right thing to do before anything.
You are saying to her, do this, or if you don't agree with me, I will beat you, correct?
I'm sorry?
The man, he don't talk to the women really. He's saying to her, don't do that. He's not negotiating and the proof if she
there is negotiating, because if he's wrong, and if he says something against our religion, then who is he to say? Who is he to say don't do this? If he told his wife, don't wear hijab, then he's wrong. So he's not always right. The man is not always right. He's only right if he's speaking right, if he's speaking about justice. But if the woman is speaking about justice and refuses to do something that she thinks is wrong, she has a right to refuse that.
Okay, let us say.
For example, if my parents told me not to wear the scarf, or if my parents told me don't do this, don't do that, I have a right to refuse that. I respect my parents, but if they told me to do something wrong, what I think is wrong, I have a right to refuse that. So just because I'm female does not make me entitled to being weaker or to being silent. Because as a female, I will respond the way that I believe is right to respond.
Can I talk?
And I'll tell you right now.
Can I talk?
I'll tell you right now.
Can I talk?
I expect my husband to respect and love me enough so he knows to communicate with me. If he wants to talk anything out, he comes to me first and we negotiate together, because that's how a marriage works. When two people talk things out together. All my friends and all my family members who are married, alhamdulillah, they've been married for many years. That's what they do too.
How many wives your husband have?
I'm sorry?
How many wives your husband have?
There's only one.
Why? What do you mean
and
one?
It will only be me.
Why only have one? Quran allowed him to have 4. So how you are talking about negotiating, and you are just one of many in the house. This is
if my husband,
listen, I give you the time to talk.
My husband,
give me the time to talk. Give me the time to talk, please. I gave you time, right? Let us be polite. I gave you the time to talk. Finish your word. It's my time. And you said that if the husband he ordered you to do something wrong, you do not agree with him. Now, if you don't agree with him in something right, he can beat you. Now, if he don't agree with you in something right, which means he is the wrong one, can you beat him?
If he is the wrong one?
Yeah, can you beat him? The same he do to you if you are wrong?
Give me an example.
As an example, you mentioned to me yourself an example. Your husband said to you, don't wear hijab, correct? And you said to him, I'm not going to obey you. Now, he is ordering you to do something wrong. Can you beat him?
Literally, I can beat him, but I won't do that. I'm just not that
So
type
how
of person.
come he can beat
And
you?
instead,
Okay, listen.
instead,
How
I will
come-
tell him why he's
No, no, no.
wrong.
I'm talking in a
and-
religious way. I'm talking according to Islam. The woman, she cannot beat her husband even he's wrong. But he can beat you if you are wrong. So what kind of equal
Sir?
distance?
Sir,
If
can you show me a verse where a woman cannot beat her husband?
Can you show
Is
me
there
a
a verse
verse
that
that says
says
a woman
that
can beat
women
her
are not
husband?
allowed
Yes,
to hit their
the
husband?
Quran only mentioned man beating his wives.
Or are you
And
just making that verse up to
Lady,
try and
chapter
prove a
4,
point that is not
chapter
valid
4,
right
no.
now?
Listen, if the Quran never mentioned that the woman can beat her husband, this is mean you cannot beat her husband. It says-
You asked to see a verse, and I just wanted to show you kind of what the Prophet really addresses towards beating.
Go ahead.
And I want you to see what I mean when
Go
I
ahead.
say that the beating is not to be vicious or severe or something that causes harm to the woman to the point where she cannot answer back to her husband, where she's weak. I want to show you something
Okay, go ahead.
that addresses this issue that we're talking about, because you bring it up. You're not the first person, and I'm sure you're not the last, because I've been asked about many different types of verses in the Quran. But the thing is, people only look at one specific part of the Quran and they focus on that, and they become negative towards it to the point where they are so close-minded they don't look to the bigger picture.
Okay.
And they think that if men don't beat their wives, they're not Muslims. But that is not true, because men can find ways where beating cannot occur, where beating should not occur. And if a Muslim man does not beat his wife, that does not make him a bad Muslim.